Okay, going to the mental health aspect of this is that, as we know, post pandemic and post the lockdowns, especially, that a lot of people have been affected by depression, loneliness, mental health issues, and exacerbated pre existing conditions. And the question, the kind of the easy question is kind of why it happened. But the more important question is using these words that we talked about, the C words, and marketing, how can it get better? And I'm just going to show you, and I'm going to read you an example of a community. This is in the UK. West Berkshire Council has implemented strategies for engagement with this specific demographic post pandemic to get them back. Because let me read you some statistics. It's like, I don't know if these are accurate, and like data doesn't lie unless, like you said, like they're just made up. But 83% of children reported increased negative feelings since the lockdown, with 96% of those who were locked down for extended period experiencing heightening distress, and it's still persisting. They're rising loneliness since then. We know the social media aspect of this, but I think there is also just, whatever the effect of that was, pre-existing conditions for some reason are getting worse. But so going back to the question is, how can we use community? How can we use the 5 C's, and how can we use marketing to connect and improve the mental health of the population?
Let me zoom out of this. And I'm going to bookmark that question because I have something that comes to mind with when you're talking about mental health. And granted, basically, my thoughts are probably not going to be the most popular here. And I'm coming, and I'll tell you why. I'm black, and in the black community, this thing is not very popular. Period. At least yeah, it's not very popular in the black community. Mental health services and help and things like that. I'm Jamaican, not very popular in that culture. So you have those two things, and also,
Don't worry, be happy. Sorry, this is the mental health strategy.
That's your mental health, right? Exactly. That's your therapy. And then I was born in the 80s, where this is not talked about when we were growing up, and then definitely our parents were talking about it. So my thoughts on mental health might be a little jaded. Now, let me say this: I understand if somebody is clinically depressed. That's something that I have I can't relate with that. Like, if you clinical depression, get help. Clinical anxiety, like soul crushing anxiety, I'm not talking about all that type of stuff. This is what I'm talking about, Dmitri. Before I answer your question, I have a harder time with mental health nowadays because I do feel like it becomes an easy button for some people. Here, let me give you an example. I know somebody, or I know of somebody, who doesn't go to work sometimes because they are having a bad mental health day. And this shit can go on for days. And there's some people who are like, oh, I can't do this because the anxiety is too much. And then their parents or whoever around them will be like, oh, well, okay, it's all right. You saw this with what's your name, Simone Biles or whatever, who was competing in the Olympics not long ago, and she pulled out for mental health reasons. I don't know what she's going through. I don't. So I can't, whatever. But everybody rallied around it and was like, hey, it's okay. That was cool. You pulled out, yada, yada. And that might have been exactly what she needed to do. Or it could have been like, and I'm not saying, again, I don't know if what she was saying was clinical or whatever, but let's just say that she said that she's having a bad mental health day. It could have been like, this is something you push through and you grow as a result. Not saying Simone Biles in specific, but let's say the woman I was talking about, I guess I might as well say woman now, the woman I was talking about who just doesn't go to work because she's having a bad mental health day, maybe you need to get your ass off the couch and push through it, develop some resiliency, and then grow from that. My challenge with mental health today is that it's almost like a fucking easy button for people. It's just a cop out, and people gather around them and say, oh, it's okay, as opposed to, hey, push through this anxiety, get on stage. I know somebody, you know somebody who will throw up before they go and do speeches all the time, but they go and do them and they grow as a result. Where there could be somebody else like, hey, you know what? That gives me too much anxiety. Too much. I'm off. I'm out. And people around them will be like, oh, it's okay. Da, da, da. So at what point do you really support somebody with mental health stuff versus it's actually crippling them and making them softer? So I bookmarked your question, and that's my question.
This is a super interesting topic. I'm glad you got into it because I kind of the next question, we keep bookmarking questions, is are people saying this in the best interest of those they're claiming to help, or are they saying this because the culture is telling them to do so? And I mean, you would probably agree with me in saying that it's probably a combination of both, where they
Yes.
think they're helping in part because the culture is saying that that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
But there is some type of marketing, and there's a certain, and I'm going to go back to this list here. There's a certain credibility, culture, and creativity. Let's say I'll take those three to that idea of supporting people through their mental health episodes, rather not through their own, but to back away and not push through them. There is some kind of societal, again, there's some credibility to it, there's some character to it, there's a community of people around you, there's a culture that's pushing that, there's a creative way of marketing that idea that's making it such that it's the primary or most popular idea in today's world.
And with that, I agree with you. I think it's a mixture of both, and there's marketing behind it that's pushing that. And where it hurts people is, I forgot who said this. It might have been a Hermosi or something, and it might be somebody he stole this from. But the worst people to take advice from when you're an entrepreneur or you're trying to do something like that are the people that really care about you, like your parents, because they're going to want what's safe. So let's say you have the people who really care about you and want what's safe, and you're telling them there's some kind of mental health thing, and the whole marketing behind it is, hey, support mental health, support mental health. So now you have people who think they're helping you by keeping you safe and feeding into this message of support mental health, when in this situation, maybe you need to gamble and you need to be pushed.
I'm wondering, but it seems like the combination, the feminine energy, masculine energy, and that doesn't mean male and female or anything like that. It's just the
Right.
different. It's the caretaking and then the exploration energy, and it seems like the marketing for the masculine side has kind of faltered over the last few years. And in our local communities, what can we do? What can we do to start pushing for that, to make a revival?
I think it's most like anything where, what's that cliche statement? Be the change you want to see. So, there's one way to go about it. We can go preaching like, hey, everybody's being soft. Need to reintroduce this masculine energy. Come to the masculine energy conference and blah. Like, you could do all that, or you could just go out there and model in your community what you want to see. And if you do that well and you market that modeling well, it will attract others who are down with that. It becomes self-filtering.
I like that, of course, and we heard it all before, but I think it always is good to hear, be the change that you want to see, and it makes perfect sense. And okay, so I wanted to just throw in before we wrap up a few more like really positive events similar to the corn cob thing. There's just to lighten the mood here a little bit.
Yeah.
The Gilroy Garlic Festival. There's the Tulip Time Festival. This is all in the United States. National Cherry Festival. Like every little berry has its own plant. Texas Renaissance Festival, like Renaissance fairs, fun period stuff. Mardi Gras, everybody knows, but that is a community event. just happens to be worldwide, world renowned. The Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, which I think you've seen the pictures where there's just hundreds of these hot air balloons that fill the sky. It's really cool. So a lot of this is revolved around food or revolved around some kind of activity, and I guess that's what it should be. So there's so many different things that can be done in the community. Now, for next week, I want to preview the next episode. Before I do, I just wanted to see if you had any last words you want to get on this topic.
Nah, man. You mentioning those things is kind of going back to just a marketing, where we see marketing going nowadays is just the creation of community, is huge. Especially when you have products that are not, physical products. If you're looking to sell information or a service or something, it just seems like creating community, period, is just a valuable skill set in business and marketing.